That would raise taxes on half of Americans and potentially sunset programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Why would you propose something like that in an election year?
It's rare, but this is one of the few times a Fox host asks a Republican a hard question. That's, of course, the Democrat
talking points. It's a
it's in the plan. It's in the plan.
But let's think about reality for a second. First of all, let's talk about Medicare.
But Senator, hang on, John. So it's not a Democratic talking point. It's in the plan.
That's right. Fox News every once in a while will ask a Republican a tough question, especially when that Republican has a proposal that could lead to political suicide for the Republican Party. So Rick Scott has continued pushing his proposal. He refers to it as Rescue America, which would, of course, make the poorest Americans pay federal income taxes. And it would also lead to the very popular universal programs of Social Security and Medicare to sunset after 5 years. So that's what he got called out on. And he really struggled to answer those questions because, again, the host is asking him about what he's reading specifically from the proposal itself. And Scott tried to pretend like that's not the case. Later in the interview, he said, no one that I know of wants to sunset Medicare or Social Security. But what we're doing is we don't even talk about it. He asserted that the plan was about reorganizing such programs because, quote, we ought to figure out how we preserve those programs. Now, clearly he has no interest in preserving those programs because, again, his plan would lead to these popular universal programs to expire, to essentially lose the funding necessary. And the reason why the Republican Party overall, including Republican leadership, has slapped this down is because these are programs that are incredibly popular even among Republican voters. For instance, why don't we take a look at Social Security? A public policy polling survey conducted in 2018 found that 56% of those who voted for Donald Trump and 55% of those who identify as Republican would be more likely to vote for a candidate who, quote, supported expanding and increasing Social Security. And the results are even more significant when you take a look at Medicare. So large majorities across demographic groups say Medicare is important to them and their families. If you look at party identification among Democrats, we're talking about 88%. Among Republicans, we're talking about 77%. These are people who love Medicare, in fact, would like to see it expanded further. Cenk.
Well, Rick Scott's been trying to destroy Medicare for a long time. He committed the largest Medicare fraud in American history when he was CEO of a healthcare company. And if you think that's an exaggeration, you can go ahead and look it up. Just Google it, you'll see. In fact, it was the largest fraud against the American government at that point. But Republicans don't look at criminals, as mainly white collar criminals, and think bad guy. They think smart, savvy guy who knows how to rob us blind. Oh, please take my money, sir, and destroy Medicare while you're at it, sir. So they've elected him many times. So he thinks, let me just finish the job. I stole tons of money from them. What did he get? About $300 million in compensation for that theft. And by the way, the company was criminally convicted. So there's no question about any of this. Rick Scott is one of the biggest criminals in American history. And now he's going and saying, well, look, I don't think they'll sunset Medicare and Social Security, but they would have to have an affirmative vote in a direction to say that they're going to keep it. You see a lot of affirmative votes in Congress? No, anybody can stop a vote. Just say filibuster, Manchester Cinema, Republicans, it doesn't matter. They'll end Social Security and Medicare instantly. But by the way, why though, when even an overwhelming majority of your voters want it? Because the rich don't want it. It bothers them. They're like, wait, now if we have Social Security and Medicare, then people retire at the age of 65. I don't want them retiring. I want them back in the mindset. I want them to keep working. And if they get healthcare, they won't be beholden to me. They won't be my slave. So they can just then get healthcare and retire. And then they contributed it in and the government gives it back to them instead of handing it to me. Nah, they hate it. They've been trying to kill Social Security. Republicans have been trying to kill Social Security and Medicare since the day that it was launched. Well, they fought tooth and nail against FDR to make sure it didn't get launched. So It's not the problem that other Republicans have with Rick Scott is not that he's trying to kill Medicare and Social Security. It's that they think he's being ham-handed about it, that he's being too obvious. Yeah. They're like, no, you idiot. We're trying to kill it in a much more subtle way. And they almost pulled it off under Obama, where McConnell got Obama to propose cutting Social Security and then laughed at him and blamed him for it. And so this is as old as time. It's just Rick Scott is doing it in a clumsy way.
Yeah, I love that you brought up what happened during the Obama administration. That's my favorite example. And the fact that Obama fell for that garbage just shows you I mean, he's a smart guy, except when it comes to Republican strategy, he fell for it. He would take the bait and it was a disaster. But I do want to just quickly point to the reason why these programs are popular in the first place. The reason why they're popular, the reason why they have enjoyed the longevity that they have is because of the fact that they're universal programs. Everyone pays into it, everyone benefits from it. Even if you're ultra wealthy, you pay into it. And if you want, you get to take advantage of that program later. Obviously, no one can survive just on Social Security during retirement, but it's been a tremendously important program in providing supplemental income for retirees, ensuring that people are made whole and that they don't end up on the streets in their senior years. And so, when we're talking about policy proposals and why it is that you want it to be universal rather than means tested, this is why. You want programs that everyone gets to take advantage of. You don't pick winners and losers. And yes, as long as everyone pays into it, everyone gets to take advantage of it. So it's just something to keep in mind as Democrats continue putting out or rolling out proposals that are like so heavily means tested that of course the most affluent people in the country are gonna fight back against it. So that's my only commentary here. And I love the fact that Rick Scott is such a moron that he doesn't understand that just brazenly attacking tremendously popular programs ain't gonna fly.
Right, but there's one other dynamic here that's really important, and he's not strictly a moron. There is a real reason why he's doing it. So, but first, I just want to make a quick point about two of the things we were discussing. On Social Security and Medicare, the Republicans have been calling it an entitlement this whole time. They're like, oh, look at these people, they feel like they're entitled. As you all know, because you paid into Social Security and Medicare your whole life, yes, you are entitled to it because it's your goddamn money. But then the Republicans make it seem like, oh, I guess you just feel entitled to the money. Yeah, I'm entitled to that money and you're not allowed to steal it, Rick Scott, okay? And he's like, oh, God damn it, why aren't I allowed to steal it? So that's who Rick Scott is. And I can say all of this brazenly on air because it's true. Rick Scott, come at me, bro. Right, he won't because he's a crook and he's a criminal. And the rest of the mainstream media, they report it, you can look it up. But then when they talk about Rick Scott, they will not clarify that he's one of the biggest criminals in American history. It's amazing. All right, so that leads us to the taxes. He wants to raise taxes on 50% of the country. And where does he want to concentrate the extra taxes? The poor and the middle class. I'm not exaggerating. Meanwhile, Biden proposed earlier today a bill that would hit people that have assets over $100 million. That has no chance of passing because it affects the rich. It's intensely popular. The Democratic proposal is, wait, the billionaires pay 8% in taxes on average. That's a crime, that's unbelievable. And they have plenty of money. They should pay their fair share. Now the Democrats don't mean it, but rhetorically it's true, and I wish to God they meant it because that makes sense. The Republicans now, through Rick Scott, are saying, no, leave the poor rich alone. Let's hammer the poor and the middle class and raise taxes on them. So why is he doing it? Okay, there's an internal battle within the Republican Party. And on one side is Trump and fellow criminals like Rick Scott. So both Trump and Scott, to be fair to them, we say they're stupid, but are they? They've both made hundreds of millions of dollars ripping people off. And they both committed crimes, they've both gotten away with it, and they're both spectacularly wealthy because they're lifelong criminals and they understand that this system, the minute you steal the money, and as long as you stole enough of it, right? Once you have it, then you're above the law and you're never gonna be held accountable. So he's going with the blunt instrument. Let's just steal all their money now. Let's go get the poor and the middle class. Let's rob them like Trump wants to. McConnell is on the other camp. McConnell is a more crafty thief. And he's been milking the American people through decades. But there's a power struggle within the Senate. So McConnell says, I'll go to graphic 4 here. We will not have as part of our agenda a bill that raises taxes on half the American people and sunsets Social Security and Medicare within 5 years. That will not be part of the Republican Senate majority agenda. While they were in a press conference together, McConnell made a reference to Rick Scott, who had already walked away from McConnell and walked away from the press conference. So it's clear to me that Trump is going to put somebody like, if he wins, is going to put someone like Rick Scott in charge and say, let's hurry up on the theft, right? And so that's the battle, Rick Scott versus Mitch McConnell, but Scott is a proxy for Trump. So this is Trump versus McConnell. And one is saying, let's steady as we go. We've been robbing this country blind for 40, 50 years. Don't get overly greedy. And the other side saying, there's no law anymore. Just take the goddamn money and give it to us.
Yeah, I think your prediction is exactly right. And it's amazing because when you look at the amount that they would save in taxes, it's such a minuscule amount. And the amount of pain and suffering that it would lead to if we cut the taxes that are necessary to fund Social Security. I mean, it's just so they can save a little more money. But I mean, it's not surprising with someone like Donald Trump, who never misses an opportunity to scam people just so he could pad his own pockets. So again, not surprising. This is who they are. This is the Republican Party. And keep that in mind as they pretend to be these economic populists. They're not economic populists. The last thing they would want to do is reverse the damage that's been done by the rigged economic system that we're living under.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.